Hello there, this is Tyler, and I'm here playing with some friends of mine from the Gauntlet. If you've watched much of my stuff, you know I play with the Gauntlet a lot, and they're awesome. Fantastic, wonderful, one of the best communities you can find for good, supportive, generous play. You can find us, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com. Well worth your time. And we're together playing Changeling the Lost, which is a Chronicles of Darkness game. This is a Powered by the Apocalypse hack by our own fellow Gauntleteer, Emmy Award-winning Lowell Francis. And this game's still getting some of the rough edges sanded off, and we've been doing some comments about, some things we might like to see a little different in it. But for the most part, it's very playable, and we've been having a pretty good time with it. This is the third month that I've been running it. This is the last, and we're into the third of 4 sessions. And we're missing, at the moment, a couple of folks. One who's unfortunately sick. Noella, we hope you feel better soon. And we're going to be joined by Jason, hopefully later on. That's certainly the plan. But right now, we've got 2 who, it makes sense, are the 2 who have been in all of these Changeling games. This will be the 11th game that we've been playing together over these 3 months, and I think it's been a ton of fun. Want to mention fairly quickly, but to remind us, we have our safety tools. We have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy, which is both the fact that we're here to support each other. We're friends. We're always going to be generous. We're always going to be kind to each other because that's what friends do. That's how we play. Also, it means we have an open table. If someone needs a minute, if something's, getting too much for you, you can always say, look, I'm going to take a sec, drop off, shake it out. Or, if something horrible happens, you could say, I think I got to walk away tonight. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. It's here to make sure you're safe. We also have the X card, which both my players are aware of, those of you at home. It's for when things get problematic or something's going on that you just rather not see anymore, or something is, just taking away from your fun. If that comes up, you can do like this. You can put something in chat, though I will admit I'm bad about when I'm doing things, not looking at chat. So sometimes doing something where I see it will catch my attention quicker. Or you can just say, hey, Tyler, I think I want to X that. No problems, no questions asked. We'll go back. I might need a little clarification just to see. A lot of times, though, it's obvious. I'll take it back. We'll reframe, and we'll move forward. And again, it's here to make sure we all have a good time and we're safe. For anybody listening, you may notice I'm a little hoarse. I'm a little sniffly. Sorry about that. It is that time of year because both in reality and in our game, it is the heart of winter. It is December, and we're playing in Chicago. And this group, this motley, has, over the last few months, they've rescued a whole slew of people from a crazed serial killer in the hedge. We have also encountered this drug that's on the streets that's letting mortals see changelings and changeling things in their true forms. And we've had this invasion, which is where we are now, of a keeper, one of the true Fae, the Queen of Frozen Shards. But we're discovering that she's not alone, that she has teamed up with the Key Keeper, who is one of our motley mates, former jailers, keepers, and also of what we think is another of our motley mates keepers, the Lord of Winds, this horrible storm keeper. And it happens to be the 2 motley mates that aren't here. So we were in the midst of going through the hedge to try and rescue the Windy, one of our motley mates, and who had been left there after we'd had this encounter, after at least one of us had this encounter with the Queen of Frozen Shards, and that she had disappeared into the storm as the other had escaped out. And so the motley had come back in to save her. They had encountered some of these mechanical creatures, which are from the Keeper of Cog, one of our motley mates. These mechanical spiders, and we'd had a huge fight, and we found somebody who was wrapped up in silk, like a cocoon, who had been bait trying to catch the Windy. So the Windy is still out there somewhere. And with all of that going on and defeating these creatures, our motley had cruised off in their super cool van through the hedge to where they finally reached a spot where the van could no longer go, where the trees had pressed in and a wind was blowing up above them. And so we're going to kind of get started. We're hoping that Jason will be joining us later. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and start with our two players that are here. So, Patrick, would you mind introducing yourself to and your character?
Sure. Hello, I'm Patrick. I play games. I am playing Ditto, a Winter Court Changeling. He's a Darkling of the Mirror Skin Kith. Skin like sort of black shattered mirror bits that are reflective and malleable. Let's see, he was taken in a bad wax museum. Don't go into traveling wax museums. They're just filled with creepos and wax dummies. Like, it's just awful. Everything about it is awful. There was mirror stuff. There was stealing faces from people and sucking them in through their dreams. It was all very unpleasant. But here in Chicago, he's, well, better, question mark, happier, question mark. All these things are up in the air. But he's not being tortured off in the head. So we'll at least go with that. Let's see. Things have been complicated. Ditto mimics people. Ditto mimics the wrong people when he gets nervous. And we're off in the hedge because, once again, this is probably all my fault.
Possibly. I mean, you did your best, but yeah, the Windy did disappear on your watch.
I was not on watch, but we were both in the same place doing the same totally advisable normal things.
Exactly. Chris, why don't you introduce us to your character?
Hey, I'm Chris. I'll be playing Humorous Pete, the Rot-Eater Beast of the Summer Court. Pete is a large hyena person hybrid. He looks like a humanoid anthropomorphic hyena. He is always impeccably dressed and groomed. And he is right now, he's the high muckety-muck court person for the Motley. Like, he's an officer in the Summer Court. He is the owner of the coolest van in Chicago. And he is also the guy who operates the Motley's current home base on Navy Pier.
Excellent. And we have, as I mentioned, one other that's present, and hopefully will be joining us, who is Cog, who is a kind of clockwork ogre, and is present with us there. Though we're going to slide him back to the background until he arrives. So, with all of that, and the wind whistling through the trees, and then pressing in closer, we could see the vines of the hedge that are twined between the trees. So you could have these hedge rows with the dark trees hanging over them. All in all, it is a deep and scary forest, is what it looks like. Not a very pleasant place at all. And Patrick, you had a suggestion that maybe might be a little fun while we're waiting. We'll try and keep it tight. But tell me, you and Pete have been motley mates for quite some time.
Huh?
Looking at this forest, looking at this dark paths, almost like tunnels leading into it. What does that remind you of? What had you and Pete done in the past that this brings a little fear or a little memory of it back to you?
And describe the scene again. What are we looking at?
There's Jason. Hello, Jason.
Sorry, I just realized my camera is all kinds of not working.
There you are.
There I am.
Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy do.
How you doing?
We're doing well. We're glad you've made it. I've already started broadcast, just so you're aware.
Excellent.
And we are missing Noella again. She has come down with the sickness.
Bummer.
I
will. I have discovered I will not be here next week because, well, on the 27th, my wife is being induced. So,
well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
We're pregnant.
That is, we were doing a tour of the hospital tonight. Is the reason I was a little late.
Oh,
so.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, good for you and a Christmas baby.
Yeah.
Well,
it's pretty exciting.
Well, my congratulations to you and to your wife.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, then I'm going to try and make sure we have a nice. We'll try and give you a good finale sort of session for you.
Thank you.
I had gone over our safety tools. If you remember, we have, of course, we're open table, the inclusivity policy of supporting, and we're good friends here at the table, and of course we have the X card, which I think you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I did a little recap where we were talking about where we were. We had gone, if you remember, we're looking for the Windy. We'd encountered that place where you'd fought mechanical spiders, which almost certainly came from your former keeper. We found someone who had been tied up waiting to be bait to try and catch the Windy, which implies she has not been caught yet, or they have not been caught yet, and rescued that person. So Stormy, who's with you. And y'all had set off in the van, going through the snow and everything to try and hopefully find the Windy. And had reached some trees that had closed in, so the van couldn't go any further. And that's where we stopped with the winds whipping through the treetops. They've already done introductions. Why don't we get a quick introduction of your character from you, if you don't mind?
Sure. I play Cog. He is an ogre of the Winter Court, who is of the Watchman Kith. When you see him in his mortal seeming, he kind of looks like Dave Bautista wearing hospital scrubs quite often, because he is an orderly at... see, I always feel like I have to actually look up the name since I came up with the darn Horizon Hospice. But in his face seeming, he is kind of a monstrous collection of metal and living wood. Although if you catch his eyes, they are actually human eyes underneath all of that. So he's big, he's strong, he's sad, he's Cog.
Excellent. Thank you. And what we were doing, and I still think I'm going to carry this little thread around. We'll just do it as very quick little bits. For people who've watched anything before, I love Fellowship. So we're going to do this in a somewhat like Fellowship manner of the perilous journey concept. So what that's going to mean, Patrick is telling us why that this reminds him of a time that he and Pete, and I'd say Cog now as well, something similar, a time before when you'd gone into a situation like this. So Patrick, why don't you tell us, what do you remember where y'all had done this before?
And again, what are we traveling through? What does it look like around here?
It's a dark evergreen forest. There's snow up in the evergreens, but there's the black tree trunks, and the greenery is way above you, so it makes almost like this cave where the vines of the hedge have made paths through it. But it's almost like caves, the way everything's covered over, and it's so dark in there.
Ooh, I know what's what is an unpleasant reminder. I think as we're traveling through this sort of like very tunnely, we're restricted to the path. It's very hard to see what's going on the sides. There's sounds off like very far in the from our path, but seemingly possibly getting closer. The howls of dire wolves. Which, with our motley mate Ash and his projects with trying to capture a briar wolf, I think we've had We probably had before that successful one where he actually captured one. There was probably a situation where we were going into the hedge for some reason or another, and Ash just like started twisting things and sort of half lying to us until we found ourselves in the middle of a Briarwolf den as they were all like hibernating. And then there was a lot of running and a lot of screaming and, thrashing through the hedge.
Okay, so you remember this trip you'd made to find these briar wolves. Why don't you tell us one of the terrible things that occurred on the journey? And what we'll do is you'll ask someone to say how y'all got out of it, one of the other players, and you can describe, no rolling, you can just describe what awesome things the Motley did to get out of it. And then you're going to say something terrible that happened on the journey and pass it to someone. In this case, it'll be someone other than Patrick, who will do the same thing, and then finally pass off a horrible problem to Patrick, which will say how it was solved. So, Patrick, what horrible thing was encountered?
Well, I mean, I think the problem was that the way in, Ash had done a lot of work to find a really good and subtle and sneaky way in. So we didn't notice until we were basically in the middle of them in their den what this cave that we'd been crawling through was. And as we're standing in the middle of all of them sleeping, like I think it's still an argument to this day whether it was, the stick that someone stepped on that caused the other person to knock down a couple of rocks, or whether it was a rocks that caused someone to misstep on the sticks. But suddenly, all of these briar wolves are starting to like open their eyes and wake up, and we're in the middle of all of them.
All right, so there's our problem. Who are you going to hand that off to?
We're in a den of beasts. I will hand it off to Chris and Pete.
All right, so Pete, tell us how the Motley solves this problem.
Ooh, I think that as the Briarwolves slowly started to wake up, and they were in hibernation, so it took them they were slow to come out of it. And some of us started to panic a little bit, and like tried to scramble out of the back out the way we came. And of course, that way was too narrow and for us to all get through at once. So we were kind of stuck there. And what happened was in order to distract the direwolves enough to allow us to escape from the den as they were all waking up, one of the Motley, in this case, it just happened to be, I'll say it happened to be Ash this time, because I think he had something prepared for this, because Ash always has at least two things in the fire at any one time. He had this little goblin contract that created, like, effectively what would have been a the small rabbits they use, or the small rabbit statue things they use to let greyhounds chase them in races. He had a goblin contract that created basically a fully animated large jackrabbit that just haired it off straight through the middle of the dire wolves, or excuse me, briar wolves. And they immediately like got distracted by that, and we were able to scramble out. And by the time we got out, we had recovered just enough of our wits to begin cursing Ash out. When we happened upon a second problem in this little venture. The Briarwolves' den had been near a large, pocket of the hedge that had been being used by a couple of wild ogres. These were changelings, but they were not changelings affiliated with any court. and they were not Fey servants, but they had definitely not reclaimed their humanity completely. They had gotten away, but were stuck in the hedge coming back. And there were two of them, and they were Cyclopeans. So they were big, huge, scary, and deformed, and they were also hungry.
Sounds like Jason. How does the motley solve the problem of the ogres?
We didn't. We got eaten. No, I was kidding. I think that they caught everyone pretty good because there was a hurry, and they are wily enough to have laid traps because they were surviving in the hedge. So they had people trussed up and bound and preparing to eat them, except they overlooked and missed Ditto, as many creatures do. And Ditto played the fairly classic trick where he echoed their voices. So when one was turned around, the other one's voice would say, "You're a stupid fool to think that I would share any of this with you." And then they'd turn around, and they eventually got to fighting and ended up literally consuming each other. So,
Fantastic.
which, it took Ditto a while to undo the ropes, because Ditto would be working with it. I think, okay, maybe no, I'll pull on this one over. No, that one's really stuck. So it took us a long time, and by the time we got free, a kind of endless and abyssal night, to the point where all it was basically nihil had descended upon us, leaving us as the four bright specks in a sea of nothingness.
Ooh, so Patrick, sounds like your problem here.
So we were sort of stuck walking through this void, and I think what it was is, we're sort of spend a while blindly fumbling around until Ditto cuts himself on the thorns, the hedge there at the side of the path, and that's when he sort of thinks through and realizes that no, we're still on a path, we're on a trod that's still here, but there is no light. Nothing we do can make light here. But I think there in the darkness, he starts stretching his fingers out until they get longer and longer, and sort of whiskers. He starts using them to just barely brush and find where the edges of the path are, so that the others can grab onto his shoulder and come following out. But we get to the end of it, and Ditto, he shrinks back down to normal size, but his fingers are all bloody and cut up from even just brushing the hedge thorns.
Ooh, very nice. And now, as you're looking out of the van, you see another of these deep forest paths. Maybe all of you kind of get a little of memory of it. What, Jason?
I hate this place.
So, what are you going to do? Patrick? Ditto, what would you like to do as you're looking out of the van, the wind whipping around?
And we've gotten to the point where the path is too small for the van?
Yes, indeed. The trees are too close.
Looking out the side of the van there, and he says, this looks it's very, did you I was just listening on the howling on the wind, Did you hear that?
Yes. I'm getting the impression that's from what Stormy was talking about. Whoever that's the Storm, Lady of Storms, Lord of Storms.
Lord of Storms is what we'll call them.
Whoever the Lord of Storms was, that seems to be like their particular storm, based on what she was saying.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So it's not
It's not just
good.
a random
Not,
storm. It's actually like a terrifyingly specific storm, I think.
right, and not briar wolves. Instead, it's a keeper. That's better.
Well,
There's only one of them.
It's fewer to run from, I guess.
oh, hopefully.
Unless they
Hopefully
send a lot of wind elementals, because those move faster and could get more or less anywhere, speak probably instantaneously. So, no.
Stormy's eyes are widening.
It's just like slowly rolling up his window.
Okay. Well, it looks like to proceed forward, if we're going to keep going, we got to go out there. Did everybody bring their warm jackets?
In a manner of speaking, because if we have to, we can down that drink, but we'll get schnockered.
Yeah, let's hold off on that until it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm presuming we got coats, so Pete sighs and says, "Well, this isn't going to get better the longer we wait." So he starts to get out.
As you get out, and Stormy is wanting to stick with y'all. I mean, she's pretty scared. There's a big part of her that would rather not go in that forest, but it's better to be in the forest with y'all than it is to be in the van by herself, she figures. And as she steps out, you see her looking and listening to the wind. She says, This isn't the Whispering Storm so much as I think that the servants of the Stormlord are searching."
Oh, so this is more people searching, like that one person who was back at that little goblin market.
I think so. I don't sense Bykeeper.
Well, that's some good news. We'll take it. Okay.
And, yeah.
So Pete will wait until everybody's gotten out of the van. He'll lock it up, and he'll pat the van on the hood and say, "Stay safe till we get back."
It gives a little as it kind of idles low. And sounds like you begin setting off into the paths, into the woods. It does not take very long until you've twisted sufficiently that even the way behind you is now sealed, curved. It's dark, not Stygian dark like the time before, but it is certainly dark within here. There's the sound of the snow and the wind above you that makes almost like whispers above.
Okay. As we're going, Pete is going to wants to try and use his sniffer move. He's basically keeping an eye out for trouble, and the move states that when I'm keeping an eye out for trouble, roll on a 10+, I can hold 3. On a 79, hold 1, and I can spend my hold 1 for 1 to ask questions.
Cool. Alrighty, go ahead and roll that. And I don't know, did anyone have beginning of session moves that needed to be rolled? Nope.
Pete does not. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking, based on the situation, I think Pete's going to probably roll with fear. That seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So let me... Okay, that is a 7. So I hold 1.
Okie doke. And do you want to use your hold now, or are you going to wait?
I'm thinking right now that I think I'm going to hold it for a little bit.
Okay.
Like he's going through and he's keeping his eyes open, and when we hit the next stage, that might be the time to throw out my one question.
All right. So you're moving through this, through these paths. You hear very little, like there are no animals. You hear no birds. There's certainly no insects. Occasionally in the distance, you'll hear something moving in the underbrush or something disturbing the underbrush. But it could be just a bit of snow that's fallen. Who can say what might be? But you continue moving through these paths until ahead in the distance, you see a glow. Firelight. Seems quite large or multiple, as that orange glow ahead is pretty bright. Cog, what are you doing?
Well, I think Cog is suspicious of lights in the forest. And I think he is trying to extend whatever senses he has that you just did basically a study move with Pete, right?
Yes, it's a special move, but it effectively does some of the things that study does. Not all
Right.
of them. In study, you can get more specific questions.
Yeah, but I don't want to repeat that. So instead, what I think I'll do is Cog will be like, "I'll check it out," and as he advances, I'll invoke a contract to make myself bigger and tougher.
Ooh, nice. What you feeling?
Well, let's see here. Not really rolling him the fear or sorrow. It's not anger or joy, so it's either power or calm. Let's call it power. He's being pretty assertive with this.
Yep, that makes sense.
All right.
And do we need the roll for party? I know it's somewhere on the sheet.
No, I grabbed it. So I get a 7.
Okay. So with your 7, you're going to. This sounded like you were taking advantage against your target for the scene. So you.
I am not, in point of fact. I am using my special ogre move.
Ooh.
I am adding ignore all harm next time I suffer. Next time I take harm.
Nice. All right, and you mark clarity, and I tell you the catch.
Would you like me to tell you what I kind of imagined for this?
I'd love to hear it.
Sure. So as he's walking, the trees bend in towards Cog and start wrapping around him and basically form a larger exoskeleton around him until the point where he looks more like a wood ogre, but his head is still up on top. So he's now taller and lurching forward.
Ooh, I like that. So as you kind of moving, I mean, it's not like you're particularly stealthy as you're moving through. The glow gets brighter as you come around a corner where the path leads. You could see down its distance, and you see there are 3 hobgoblins, rather small ones, probably about 3.5, 4 foot tall. You see that they have spears. They're wearing this pieced together armor of like trash can lids and old tin cans. But as you come into vision, they lower their spears. They go, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
All right. I said your thing. If you can give me the catch in a little bit if you want, or I could respond to that first.
Okay. let me give the catch. I like, since you're kind of pulling in these trees, using that. I think the catch is that they want you to plant. In fact, growing up from the trees that you've become, you can see that there is a pine cone, and they want you to plant the different bits of this pine cone when you get back home.
I'm sure nothing could go wrong with that.
No.
Fair enough. So they ask who Cog is, and Cog's response is, "I'm just a simple adventurer, much like yourself."
They look at you suspiciously. Do you serve the keepers? Do you serve the Queen of Frozen Shards?
I do not. Do you?
They look at each other. No. No. We're running from her.
Then maybe we can reach a bargain.
Yeah.
I think Cog is going to wait for the other people who are better at bargaining to come up.
Yeah, and Pete will approach, and I guess probably bringing in tow Stormy. And I think at this point it might be a good time, based on the situation, to have Pete spend his hold.
Okay.
Who or what here is not what they seem?
Okay. I'll answer that kind of coming up here in narrative, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And Ditto, are you following along behind as well? As you turn the corner, as all three of you are there looking down at the three of these hops, is there anything you wish to do, or you good just following at the moment?
Yeah, I'm just following at the moment, I think.
All right. Then I'm guessing, once all three of you there, you begin moving forward towards the three of them. Come on, come here. They motion to you, and one of them kind of pulls out, and he's got one of those, like a child's kazoo, but it's shaped like a trumpet, and he and as he does that, you see more hobs kind of come around to the, where the end they are, and they're talking in their little hobby language as you get to the edge there, and it opens up into a glen inside of here. And you see that there are several fires, and there are a lot of hobs here. Easily 3 dozen. And you see that they have like enormous packs that are sitting there. You see some various hedge beasts like little purple donkeys or very large chickens, things like that they probably use as pack beasts, animals. You see they have some carts. You can smell as you come in. Hobs always have lovely food. And so the smells that hit you are wonderful as they're roasting stuff here on the spit. But they all have this kind of scared look as they're watching the three of you come in. And the one that had met you with his spear that had been talking says, "Come in, travelers. Come. Are you hungry? Did you bring money?" And motions you in. Patrick, you were saying something?
No, I was just gonna reach for my wallet. I have $5.
Ooh, he comes over and it is the Lincoln. Oh, the Lincoln. And they sort of pass it around very gleefully, and they motion you towards the fire. You're giving the place the once over, Pete, keeping an eye scanning. It seems like the first thought that comes to your mind is these are refugees. These are people who are running with everything they could grab, trying to get away. But as you're looking about, kind of look up, and you can see in those treetops around the edge, you're pretty sure you see some of that snow and wind in a couple of places moving a bit by itself, by themselves. Something's watching this, Glenn.
Okay. I think Pete will, as obviously Cog is very distracting because he's huge and now wrapped in weirdly twisted tree trunks. Ditto, or Pete will lean over to Ditto and whisper, I think some of those things, like you had mentioned to us being at that market, might be flitting around the treetops around this glen. I count a few, but it's hard to get a steady count on them. I don't know. I think they're just keeping an eye on these things, but I don't know if they're trying to do something else or if the goblins themselves are part of it. I don't think the goblins are. I think these things might just be scouting this goblin encampment.
I just keep first talking, distracting. Just keep it rolling.
Okay, I'll go up and I'll talk with the goblins some, see if I can find out what their story is.
All right, they do welcome you in, and you've paid, so they provide you with meat on a stick. Maybe wisely not to ask too closely what is on the stick, but you see the encampment kind of keeping itself going, and as the one who had talked to you first takes you up there, he he goes, he says, "Are you fleeing the queen as well?"
We're not looking to meet the queen, if that's what you mean. We had our own business in the hedge, and unfortunately, we have met up, as I presume you have, with this. And he raises his hand up to the sky. All of this.
Yes. He looks at the two of you, Cog and Pete, and I would imagine that her minions would not mess with you. You're both quite strong, quite big.
We had some encounters with something. I don't know if it was the minions of whatever's doing this, because the things we encountered were big metal spider things.
Oh. The clockworks. Yes. Yes. We've seen them. They search around. They seem to be working with her.
That's an odd combination, don't you think?
Keepers rarely work together. When they do, it's always bad.
And Pete leans in for a second and he says, What about all this storm and wind? It seems like there might be like almost two separate storms moving through the edge. There's the one with all the ice in it, and then there's the one that's just a bunch of might be a bunch of wind. We've encountered we've seen two storms.
The whispering. Yes, we've heard it as well. It's not good. It's not good at all. That's why we're leaving. We've traded around Chicago and the hedge in this area, for generations. But now we leave. It's going to be a frozen place. Not sell here any longer.
Where are you going to try and get to? How are you going to escape the storm?
Oh, somewhere warmer. Somewhere south. Perhaps Cleveland.
That's not much south, but okay. That's a big step down from Chicago.
Cog, what are you doing as Pete's kind of talking with this guy?
I think Cog is actually trying to get a read on else around. His impulse. He's got competing impulses where, like, there's the winter part, which is like, yeah, no, that's right, you should just go. Cut ties, leave. That's what you do. And then the humanity impulse, which kind of is like wants to push them to stay, because in order for the plan that Spring was putting forward, having the Hobbs stay would make a big difference. So I think he's trying to tell whether or not there's a way to appeal to them to get them to stick it out.
Okay. Why don't we look at maybe something like hit the streets, maybe.
Works for me.
So yeah, because then you're gonna find out what it might take for them to do it and that sort of thing.
Sure.
What you feeling?
I just went through how it's all complex. Let's call that sorrow.
Okay.
Much as I do love my calm. It's a bad day for Jason. All right, so I rolled a 5. I've got a +1 to my sorrow. Should have gone with calm. so I'm looking at a 6 on that.
Well, do we want to... by the way, our trust pool, it's the start of session, so trust pool is back up to 3. Anybody feel like they're helping with this? It sounds like...
I think Pete, right now with Pete's conversation, with him sort of chatting up this hobgoblin, that conversation might be able to throw a few clues into this consideration. Like the goblin mentioned how long they've been there, how they've been there for generations, how they counted this as home, and their alternate plan is Cleveland. So no, I mean, come on.
No offense for anybody who's from Cleveland.
Well, this is from a Chicagoan perspective, just
True.
Cleveland.
All right. So we're going to use one of the trust pool.
I think we could make that. I think we can make that work.
All right. Sure. So Jason, roll another die and take the 2 highest.
Oh, I forgot for a moment how this works. All right, so let's do 1d6 in orange. Yep, that'll push me up to an 8.
Excellent. All right. So let's see. We're going to choose one. With a hit the streets, you have the potential in this case. They might be willing to do this, but you need to choose whether they're juggling their own problems, so they're going to want help with their problems, or they're going to want you to pay them, give them something. It's more expensive than you thought to get.
Yeah. Well, they're hobgoblins, so let's go with paying them. And I think so. Narratively, Cog was looking at them first, and then he's got to make the case for it. So he goes, "Humans tell a story of a duck that ended up in Cleveland once, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to anyone in any dimension. I can tell you I've seen a lot of awful things, but I would not live the life of Howard the Duck. Were you to stay in Chicago, were you to see the storm through, were you to face it, all your competition would be eradicated, leaving you there for what follows. It would be hard, but profit will out in the end.
Ooh, profit.
Do not be the duck."
They look around, and you hear little murmurs. Ooh, not the duck. Don't want to be the duck. No, not the duck. As he says, you say things that intrigue us, like profit and not being a duck. Should we stay? It will mean that we are in danger. Do you know of somewhere safe? Can you take us somewhere safe that we will not be frozen by the queen?
Pete, you're getting more roommates. No.
Oh, Lord.
Here's the tricky part. We obviously can't take them out of the hedge because it's Chicago. That's not going to work. But I'm sure that each court, and this is kind of me meta talking a little bit. And Tyler, you let me know if I'm off base on this. I'm sure each court has pockets of the hedge that they guard and protect for the purposes of maintaining, like hedge fruit harvests and things like that. And I think Pete, as an officer of summer, can call in some favors and make that space available for them for a time.
And if there's a place that's warm, it would be in.
It would be the summer. It would be the summer hedge.
Yep, a little hedge grotto of summer. So, do you offer this up?
I offer this up, and I have that officer of the Iron Spear move, which lets me call in a favor from the court. And I think this might be a worthy reason to make use of that favor. Is
this a rolled move?
I think it's just a call move. Let me
I think it's just I think it's so. Right now, obviously, you can't make that call, but we will have when we get to somewhere where you could call to summer. We can deal with that.
Yeah, the move states that you're a member of the court, and once per session, you may call on a debt with a lesser member of the court. And given Pete's particular title, I'm thinking that the person who serves as basically the warden of that little summer hedge is probably lower on the totem pole than him.
I think so too.
And I think he can whistle that up.
All right. I think. Let's see. I think the keeper of the grotto is hammering beats.
Okay. And Pete looks over and says, "We may have a space for you to hold up while the battle rages. You may have to offer some assistance if we need it. If you have some items or some materials that will help us fight them off, we will expect you to contribute as well, because you will be profiting from our victory."
Contribute for profit, we like.
Yes. As our friend Cog mentioned, you will be, after our triumph, you will be the only goblin market left in Chicago. All the others have already made their run.
A monopoly. And one behind him says, "Oh, we could get a hotel." But
hotels in the hedge have a bad history in Chicago right now. Maybe hold off on the hotels.
As you say this, and it seems like the Hobbs are agreeing with you, and they seem excited. Ditto. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, so as they're distracting the Hobbs and telling stories and going through a timeshare pitch and all the sorts of things, I'm trying to use that distraction to slowly pull myself away from the group, and sort of make my way into the shadow of a tree, or if they have carts or something, out of sight, and just sort of fade off into the shadows. And I want to start trying to get an eye on some of these things in the treetops and try and work up a study on them.
All righty. Sounds like you've got the time and you've slid back. Go right ahead.
So
what you feeling?
I think I'm trying to just stay very calm and still and quiet and fade into things and just try and pick up on what's going on. So, you and you, which is an 11.
Ooh, very good. All right, so you've got 3. Again, you can ask or you can declare.
I've got 2 in my special.
Right.
Yeah, what here is not as it seems.
I suppose the thing that as you're looking around and you're noticing, first off, you could see now in those trees moving about, that there's definitely at least 2 of these whirlwind type elementals up there. But you also can tell that these fires they've got glowing here, they're not just warmth, they're also a sort of shield around this place. In the sense that you get, if someone were not here to directly look at them, no one could like scry. It's not an easy place to look with these hob magics going on.
It's neat. I don't know. I often wish there were just questions in this game. I suppose, like, I don't know. What's the way we could get out of their notice or distract them or something?
Okay. As you're looking around, you can see a whirlwind that is moving over, kind of reaching out from the edge of the forest there and moving towards Windy.
Stormy.
I'm sorry, Stormy. They seem, kind of look, they've taken note of her more than anything else here. Now, a way to distract them, they seem kind of focused on her, so doing something with her would distract them. But also there's storm wind, icy things. They probably would be highly bothered by heat, or you could perhaps distract them by, disrupting the storm above you, if that's a possibility.
So, no, there's not really a way to distract them or get them off our trail.
Not immediately, no. If you got rid of these 3, there aren't any more, and you've got the feeling no one can see you here. So if those 3 were gotten rid of, you would definitely be able to do what you wanted unobserved from, any other things.
So we heard briar wolves earlier coming in here. How could I sick them on the air elementals?
Ooh. There are several ways. First off, Briarwolves will attack anything that they feel like is hurting the hedge or the trees. You can also put Briarwolf spore type spell. I guess they don't go into heat as much as in bloom, but you could bring Briarwolf scent, and that would certainly attract them. Or you could try and make some sort of deal, call to them and try and make a deal with them.
No, I've seen Ash fail at that. But I think Ash's several failures may have led to something like a Briarwolf lure or attracting scent sort of. But yeah, I think probably like, what are you doing? Stretching against my neck. Like some dried Briarwolf blossoms, basically, that I'll pull out like a little bottle of water and shake them up in, and I guess try and get under at least one of those little whirlwinds and try and spray him with the water bottle, chunk it into the middle of him.
Want to do one of the two up in the trees or the one that seems to be reaching out for Stormy?
Oh, let's do that one. He seems easier to reach and also more closer to causing malice.
Excellent. All right. I think that this is a straight up stay strong as you're trying to hurl Briarwolf Blossom Juice over at one of these swirly bits.
That makes sense. And I picked up a new move this time of Shattered. Just when you use Trust selfishly, clear a condition or mark XP. Then the first time I used Trust to help a motley mate take advantage. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab a Trust out of the pool.
Okay.
Because I'm not great at throwing things and very much don't want to fuck this up.
And you're using it selfishly.
Yes. They're winter things. I think I'm going to go with Sorrow to try and sneak up on them and know where they are and aren't going to be looking. Nope, do that. Oh. But that better one is an 8 plus 1 is 9.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to tell you the cost. As you fling this over there, and I mean, it's caught up into the little whirlwind, and the smell begins to permeate the whole area of Briarwolf Blossom. And we can hear the rustly howl of Briarwolves that suddenly come out from the hedge, almost like they, had been lurking there. And just, you see two of them kind of envelop that spinning thing, and their vines going around it. And you see the whirling thing struggling in it as they pull it back in. But now we see coming in from the edge of the clearing, there are a lot of Briarwolves. And the hobgoblins are like, "What have you done? What? Briarwolves!" And they're getting all freaked out. I'll let you, if you wish to say anything. They don't well, I guess they saw the bottle, but you're all hidden. They just saw the bottle go head over there and... So, do you say anything or you stay hidden?
I think I'll come rushing to the other two and say, the whirlwinds, the storm, they found us. They brought wolves.
Lovely. Stormy goes, hi! And she's run over there and kind of moved up to Pete. Cog, from up above, those two that were observing and now see this attack going on, one of them drops down and we see this bolt of frost and ice go streaking into one of the wolves that has wrapped up and is pulling back the other elemental. You see this icy blast, but the other one is icy blasting at you. But I think that you have no problems with that, do you?
I do not, in fact, have the ability to resist that. I don't have that move yet.
I thought you did that off of when you rolled the Invoke a Contract.
Oh, no, that I do. I'm sorry, there's also an ogre move that means you don't get hurt by cold ever.
Oh, that's nice.
That I specifically didn't take it because I wanted more Troppa.
But in this case, that ice hits
but
you.
But in that case, it hits it, and then the wood stuff cracks away. I think what happens is that while it's cracking away, Cog says, "We should go now," and he picks up one of the logs of fire and chucks it at the air elemental.
Excellent. Let's roll a conflict then.
Sounds good. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with the calm on this one. Oh, I don't need new dice on this. I've got perfectly good dice already. Especially this 4. It's been rolling rather nicely, so let's do that. There we go. 12.
Fantastic. So you're going to get to pick 3 off the list. Inflicting harm, you see the list.
Yep.
What would you like to have?
So extricating would be just extricating myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the whole point of why I was doing it was to create an opportunity for allies.
Excellent.
I also want to inflict harm because forget that guy.
Excellent.
So they have the same stats that we do, right? The in general, they're rolling with sorrow, anger, etc., right?
As they don't really roll with anything, but they actually will have more of a. I get the impression of they have a certain amount of conditions.
So that's the thing. Like I could choose which condition to mark, and I'm like, I don't know that matters that much.
Well, think of them as having the same emotional sort of conditions and reactions we do. So choosing that one where you choose which stat you're marked, you could look over at the condition examples and say like, oh, I'm going to mark his anger so that he comes out either frenzied or violent or passive and appeasing. Like you could sort of direct how they're going to respond to your attack.
Right. Well, I think I'm looking for fear here. So we're gonna do that.
All right.
I'm going to inflict harm, choose fear, and create an opportunity for my allies.
All right. So as this thing goes flinging and it smashes into the wood and the burn gets called up in it, and this whirlwind kind of screams out, Air! And we see it. It's running. That did break its sort of will to fight. And you opened up this opportunity. Now, Pete, these hobgoblins you see they're grabbing their stuff. They look like they're going to run. Question is, are they going to scatter or are you going to try and take them somewhere?
I think Pete's going to try and basically herd them to the van, and then Pete's going to try and use a contract to TARDISize his van.
Oh, all right. So I think first I'm going to say, sounds like you're trying to escape. You're trying to get everybody and haul them back to the van.
Right.
Okay. So let's roll an escape. You're rolling an advantage because Cog gave us this opportunity, has opened up this way for us to do it.
Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to say that right now with this, Pete is probably going to be rolling with. I think he's really at this point trying to maintain calm, so he's going to be rolling with calm.
Okay. Putting on the brave face.
Let's see how this works. That would be an 8.
Okay. So you're going to have a choice there. What is your choice there from escape?
Okay. I think Pete's going to suffer harm. I think in that as we're getting everybody out of there, I think Pete has to run interference with some of the dire wolves to try and keep them from coming at the hobgoblins as they escape.
That makes perfect sense. So you could choose drained or you could choose calm as you're fighting back the briar wolves, giving this opportunity.
I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to mark calm because basically he's that calm is evaporating as he's having to get into this pitched fight.
That makes sense. Cog, since you kind of said it's time to go, I'm imagining you kind of leading out, pushing your way through, batting aside briar wolves as you head back towards the van. Ditto, as you're heading out, anything you want to do, you see flooding now. You know, they've kind of following along as Pete's opening up this way and Cog's heading out. They're following along and they grab their stuff and it's amazing. It's like, in the labyrinth that has the people with the big, huge packs that they keep adding stuff onto. There's that sort of look as they're grabbing their stuff and their animals and just jetting.
No, I'm mostly just running. I would very much prefer to not be here. Storms and thorns and briar wolves, oh my.
As you begin moving back, all of you heading out, the briar wolves clashing with you. Pete, as you take a bit of a scratch and get angrier sort of thing, as y'all pile back out of this forest and empty back out to where the van is. You open it up. I'm not going to have you roll for a contract. We've made a whole bunch of rolls here of late. I want to know, however, what is the catch that the van wants for you to do this?
Ooh, gosh. I'm thinking that the van wants Pete to enter it into some sort of drag race. Like it wants to race. It wants to run.
Excellent.
And Pete's a businessman. He doesn't do like side races or anything. So the van is really itching to stretch its proverbial legs and burn some serious rubber. So
all right,
that's what it wants.
I think with all that's been going on with this van and you doing this here in the head, it's kind of becoming a token at this point. It's becoming sort of a magic-y item of its own here. As strangely enough, inside the van as you open up the doors, there's plenty of room on it, shag carpeted, that it's got inside, and they all pile into it. As you all get in and slam the door, you can hear the wolves howling back there still inside of the woods there. But it doesn't seem like that last of the whirlwinds managed to catch up or observe you, at least not yet. Kind of want to ask the group, what are we doing? Are we just getting the hell out of Dodge? What are y'all doing?
Well, so the reason that we were here, other than looking for the Windy, who obviously we are not going to find, it was to get information. And we have a whole bunch of hobgoblin refugees that know more than literally anybody else in the hedge. So I'm pretty good with taking them to a safe space so that we can get more specific information out of them.
And we also got some information out of Zetcher before we left that we can also share. So
whatever Stormy knows.
Yeah.
Sound good?
I think that sounds good. So Pete will try to get us out the heck out of here.
All right. You peel out. Jason, you were saying something?
One other thing. So while we're going, I cannot remember what Semolina wanted from the hobgoblins. There is something that she specifically had wanted, like an ingredient or something.
Yes, she had.
It was some sort of pepper, wasn't it?
That's it.
There's some sort of hedge fruit.
Yeah.
She wanted the peppercorns.
All right. So right before they leave, like Cog thinks Roy goes, by the way, do any of you have peppercorns? And then because I promised.
Excellent. And as the van is tearing through the hedge, one of these hobgoblins looks at you and goes, I do. I do. And tearing through, and it sounds like we're just trying to get out of the hedge through the, piling through, and I'm not going to have us roll. I think we find an opening and exit out into Chicago. Back onto the streets. The snow pouring down here in Chicago now. And you're back home, back into the city, into the mortal world. I think we'll go ahead and take our break here. So let's take 6 minutes. We'll come back at 9:30 or the equivalency thereof, whatever your time is.
Howdy.
Howdy. Patrick will be back in just a second. We've been running around so much today, he hasn't eaten, and his blood sugar just bottomed out on him.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna. I want us. We're into our second half. I want us to do some things, so I may frame us a little harder because I kind of want to push to something in the end. So I'm figuring we're going to head to summer with these hobgoblins through the hedge. We're going to try and pop out in Summer's grotto. So because we don't want the hobs to come into the real world, no telling what's going to happen with that. So, in fact, you have popped into from the hedge. You're not all the way out of the hedge back in Chicago. You're actually in Summer's grotto. And you arrive, and Hammering Beats kind of comes to meet you, looking all ready to fight whatever this crazy van that's come in. Pete, you know him, of course.
Yeah, Pete leans out the window. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hey, hey! It's me, Beats. Hey,
Pete, what are you doing?
finishing up something for Embers. Okay, come on over. We got to talk.
He lumbers over, and you explain to him.
Yeah, the whole shebang, everything with the initial job for Embers, what we're supposed to find out, what's going on in the hedge, how we've got a bunch of people who can lend us a lot of information and maybe provide us some other material support too, but they need a place to hide out in the hedge that's currently safe, and this is the safest place I know of in the hedge.
Okay, and this is you actually. This is that moment you're in using that move.
Yes.
Bringing it in as he goes. All right, Pete, but I gotta tell you, this is on your head, buddy.
I get that.
And so, as you kind of move out of the grotto to enter into Summer, you find that there is a council of the heads of the courts. This is when they've come together to try and figure out what to do about this incursion. And so you walk straight out of the grotto to find the high potentates of the courts there. There is Embers there. Beck and Call is there. There is also, let's see, Ashwine. We're going to have everybody there, I think. So Ashwine's there with Winter, and Singing Branches from Autumn has actually arrived as well. And you could tell there's that tension because Spring and Summer do not like Autumn. And as you come in, they're all arguing about what to do. And you hear Singing Branches go, "It is always the same for you. We'll shine the sun. We'll melt the cold. We'll fight them on the beaches, on the landing grounds, in the streets. Always the same. Sometimes you just need to outsmart them."
And I think at this point, I think Pete announces his entrance with one of the guards does the spear, because they literally have an iron spear that they whack on, that they hit on the ground to make an announcement. On that note, Prince Embers, others of the courts, I may have some additional information that may be pertinent.
Excellent. Again, for time's sake, I'm guessing you tell them everything?
I lay it all out. The only thing I don't share at this point, because I don't want to pull the trigger on it yet, is the possibility that Ashwine might be involved in spreading that fruit. We're holding that in reserve. Pete thinks that may be useful. And he would really like to find a way to link Abyssinian Max to that too, so he could basically kill two birds with one stone. But he that's the only part he's holding back right now.
All right. And so as this information comes in,
and the fact that we have the hobgoblins out here to verify and possibly render other material and informational aid, should we request it.
All right. As you're, this breaks a huge amount of excitement in the court, as they're listening to all of this and they're discussing it all down. You hear singing branches. This clearly shows I was right all along. There's no way we can fight 3 keepers. We must fool them. We must make them confused by our city. And you see Embers kind of take this information, and she's also realizing 3 keepers that's not going to be something they can simply fight.
Pete sort of leans in to Embers and whispers, where there are 3 keepers, we know that there are at least 3 different, ridiculously overinflated egos and personalities. All we have to try and do is make them focus on each other.
Yes, that may be a good idea. Pete, you're always so wise. Meanwhile, Ashwine's going to be walking up to, he's moving towards the 2 of you in his court, both Ditto and Cog. I'm checking to see, do either one of y'all have an entanglement with Ashwine?
I do, which is a loyalty, actually. So how is it written exactly?
Let's see. My love for the Windy is undeclared because of my loyalty to Ashwine.
So Ashwine's not really familiar with the Windy's hate, but Cog's kind of role is actually to help keep the peace within the court. Basically by being big and intimidating. And saying, don't.
Excellent. Patrick, do you have any with Ashwine?
Yeah, I have, where he's been trying to get me to undercut Legion's Lost or stop his rise, which was part of that whole going and getting him out of prison thing. Also of note, I owe 2 debts to him at this point.
Oh, that's excellent.
So you have those to pull on.
As he comes up to the 2 of you, he says, so good to see you, Ditto. Cog, wonderful to see you as well. You've come at a very good time. I fear that without your information, we would have seen, and he sort of makes this motion towards the other 3, we would have seen this whole council collapse into chaos. Your information intrigues me. Now, did we give the information that it seems like Cog's keeper is here? Did you give that, Pete? Do you know that?
I think Pete knows that one of these keepers is Cog's. I think we established that last time that Cog had shared that. But I don't think Pete specifically named this was Cog's keeper, or this wind keeper was the Windy's keeper.
Okay.
Pete didn't go into that. He just said, we've got this keeper who calls itself this. We've got this keeper who calls itself that. They seem to have these attributes based on what we've observed. And that's it. He didn't go into and this keeper is this one and this keeper is that one. He did not go into that part.
Cog, have you told Ashwine who your keeper was? There seems some loyalty. Had you told him your background?
I think Cog probably would have if Ashwine had ever asked. But Ashwine does not strike me as the kind of person who would ever have asked.
That's probably true. So, as he comes up, and he's would have collapsed into chaos. I imagine that Autumn will win the day. I plan to support her with my voice. We cannot fight them. We must trick them. you've seen the elements of these people. Which of them can we most easily trick, pull away from this alliance, or better, turn it against itself?
Depends on the kind of trick. The Keykeeper wants things to be ordered and reliable, but it's the Keykeeper's order, not an understandable one. The Lord of Storms seems more chaotic, but the whispers are everywhere. So, spread out. Probably easier to misinform. Probably easier to get information to. But moves very quickly, so repercussions, confirmations, and such would be very fast.
Ditto, you are extremely specialized in fooling people. Could you fool this wind lord? This Keykeeper?
Yes, no, maybe. Blustery, very loose, flighty, distracted, cloudy. Not paying attention, but I tried. It didn't go exactly. It was sort of not a complete, you understand, but it was a bit of a mess. But now we have the goblins. They can tell me. I didn't know that was the problem. I can look, but I didn't know. I didn't know what to say or what to do or where to go. But now I can know, and I know names. They'll be able to help me. And yes.
They'll want paying.
Of course they will. I can help with payment. Yes. Driving a wedge between these keepers may be the best use of our time. You say that this Keykeeper likes order, while this whispering wind seems more wild.
That seems to be the case.
Can you put them at loggerheads? Can you cause mischief between them?
We would have to know why they're working together in the first place. Don't know if the hobgoblins have that information, but it's unusual to have keepers work together, especially two that are so different.
Do you have any talismans of the two of them? Do you have any of some servant, something that they have worked their will upon?
I've got this head.
He takes it. And then his gaze kind of slides over and he looks at Stormy. And I'm guessing that was a servant of the Wind Lord?
It's not he.
What?
He.
They.
Oh, talking about Stormy?
Yeah.
Oh, Stormy's a she.
Oh, sorry. He said it. I was giving.
Oh, I got you. Oh, okay. Of course, she. Perhaps I can do something. He takes he looks at the head and, will you bring that over here? And he moves over towards Stormy. and his voice gets low and fairly pleasant for him. Excuse me, my dear. I'm hoping you would like to stop your keeper. Do you wish to be free? And you could see that she looks over towards you, Cog. What do you say? Do you try to reassure her? What do you do?
I think that I will state both for her and for Ashwine. I'll be like, as long as you're here, you're under the protection of hospitality. And if that protection is broken, then I must enforce the punishment ruthlessly.
And, Ashwine is kind of seems pleased that you're agreeing with him. And, he's trying to. And then when you say that last bit, he sort of looks at you. Of course. Set the head here. She goes, I'll do. I never want to go back to him. Never. And so, as you set down the head, and he may I have your hand? And he touches her hand and this head. And as he concentrates on it, we see ice begin to form into an almost mirror-like pool between them. All of you staring down into it. You could see that figure, I believe, that Noella described, the wild-haired man screaming to the storms. And you see the Keymaster. I'm going to need you to roll an inner turmoil for me, Cobb.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What you feeling? What you rolling with?
Man, complex emotions in a giant cog. I think it's going to be anger. I don't think I've actually rolled anger before, but I think that's what this is.
Excellent.
All right, let's see how that goes. Got a 9.
Ooh. All right. On your 9, you either must flee the scene, mark clarity, or mark a condition until you change the situation.
I think I'm going to go ahead and mark clarity.
Okay. As you steel yourself staring down at him, looking again, staring into this mirror, we see the face and form stepping out from the snow of the queen. She seems to have brought the two of them together. And there is, rather than hearing them speak, it's almost like a dancing of images that goes between them. It's sort of hard to interpret, though if afterwards we'd like to do a study on the thing, we can. But we see images of the trains and subways of Chicago. We see the buildings, but we also see the people moving to work, almost like a machine, this city, this driving city of industry. We see the winds pouring across the streets, howling between the buildings, screaming. We see her offering these things, these opportunities for the two of them. And all of it with this cascade of snow dropping down. This is what she seemed to have offered them. Now, Ditto staring at that. Is there anything you wish to do? Would you like to roll, do we want to roll a study to find out more about it? Do you think you have some hypothesis of what's, it's pretty clear what bound them together, but maybe some other things around it?
I don't really have a hypothesis, no.
Okay. Do you wish to study?
Sure.
What you feeling?
This is sort of trying to understand keepers, so I guess power.
Okay. And do we think, Cog, you're there together? Do you think you're trying to help in this?
Yep. I would be willing to say that Cog absolutely is. He's got a better understanding than most people of the Keykeeper systems because of patrolling them.
Excellent. All right, so we can use that trust pool if you want. It will take us to 0, but worth noting, when we go into a charged situation, we'll start with 1 back in it.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
All right, Patrick, roll with advantage.
Oof. Instead of an 8, that's an 11 then.
Ooh, fantastic. So you got 2 plus the one you get along with it, along from yourself. And I don't know if you wish to, take one, share one with Cog, and then use your own, or whatever you'd like.
Yeah, on a hit, you always gain basic information. So can you restate the basic thing there?
Right. Again, they're talking in these sort of images, and what it seems like is she's offered, like, that Chicago is it's a machine of its own, that it's, you can take control and manipulate the machine that is Chicago, this city of industry, people going about their daily business. And of course, if this keykeeper comes in and starts influencing it, they'll become, wage slaves. It would be terrible. But that's the offer that she's saying is Chicago can be this machine for you. And the wind lord, this city, the constant winds, you need not be amongst whispers, you will be amongst howls as it screams through the streets. And of course, she's offering up, that she's going to be there bringing the cold. And ultimately, you're aware that if they have the ability to just come in at will and do what they want, they'll begin stealing people however they desire. They'll put their influences on the city to, when keepers do things, it's always horrible. They're capricious, but it's rarely something nice that they do.
So 3 of them are working together, but it's not like they're working exactly towards a mutual goal or on even grounds.
Correct.
It's sort of like she's recruited the 2 of them.
Right. And with this role, you get basic information. There's something in you that, you don't trust any keeper, but you really don't think she's going to play fair with them. She feels like she has the advantage.
But yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is they're all keepers. They're all true fae. It's I don't know if I've ever run across a situation where any true fae was willing to say that they're less than subservient to that sort of thing. So what has she got over them, or how has she tricked them into they're obviously just accepting and believing that she is more powerful than them. She has the ability to hand this plan to them when as opposed to they could just go do it themselves. So how is she positioning herself above them in reality or just in their minds?
That's a good question. She is playing off of this being the height of winter and that being so much her own purview. And she's given them the idea that winter won't always be an ascension. They certainly believe that while right now she could be that strong bit that gets them the foot in the door, they're positive that as time passes, they'll be more They'll rise up over. The wind will always blow through Chicago. The city can be used as this engine all the time. But they feel like they'll be able to wait it through winter, and then they're willing to believe they're tougher than either one of the other two. Now, what they're probably not betting on is she intends to make it winter there all the time.
So do you have a question you want to ask, Jason?
I can, if you don't have another one that you want to, I can put one together. You know, so normally Cog's insight would be about specifically the Keykeeper, but given what we already have, I feel like the natural question is how exactly she's going to make it winter all the time. Because it's not usual for Fae to be able to just come down and subvert natural law forever. So how she expects that to happen, and also has, I mean, she's also apparently hidden it from these other two keepers.
Her intention, because she's been working with some other folks, is she's lowered the hedge walls around here so much, she plans to take all of Chicago into her realm. That's why we've got all these people that can see the Fae. That's why the drug's been dropping the hedge, and once they're here and able to influence things directly, she's going to thin the hedge, and Chicago, as we know it, is going to slide into Fae. And the true Fae are unbelievably powerful. They're probably the most powerful things in the world of darkness. Yeah. And so it could very well be that if she succeeds, no one will remember Chicago. Mm. Gary will be the big town on the river, on the lake.
Why do you say things like that?
So that's, you get this insight that, yeah, she plans to, while she's got the strength, just pull it on in, and then they can roam around inside of her city all they want, and they'll even have to accept that she is the queen.
Mm. So, right.
All right, and that seem a fair answer?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out how to turn that into a pun about her being a fruit merchant.
Chris is back.
Bye. But yeah, I mean, I think we probably share what we get out of it from the observations.
Okay, and Patrick, you have one more.
No.
Do you not have your special one?
No, that's only when I'm like studying someone from the shadows or in secret.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so we gained this information. As Ashwine's been showing you this through his mirror of ice, and he pulls back. This is not good at all. Can you break up this unholy trinity?
Hey, how could we not? The other option is Chicago in a glass jar snow globe,
and all of us inside of it as well.
Shake, shake.
It may be that it is best if summer and spring distract her. That will leave winter to take on one of the others, and autumn to take on the one that is left.
Well, could probably distract her by trying to rebuild the hedge, eliminating fruit.
Yes. Very wise, Cog.
Bring an early spring.
All three of them are like, oh.
Spring.
I hate the word, as I hate all Montagues. No.
And so I'm going to leave you to an ash wine there a moment, as y'all can think maybe of something. Put in chat if y'all wish to discuss between yourselves. I'm going to pull back to Pete, who's there with Embers. She's, you've made your little suggestion to her.
Mm-hmm.
She says, Pete, is there any way that you can see to break up their alliance? Surely there's something we can do, something that they care about enough.
The main thing that I can see based on what we've found out about them so far, and more information may come to light yet. I'm sure we don't know everything we could know here, but what we have one keeper entity, this key keeper, that is obsessed with order. We have one key keeper that is obsessed with wild winds and storms and chaos. It shouldn't take that much to drive a wedge between those two. They're naturally at odds. The trick is going to be how to drive a wedge in the midst of them and this Queen of Frozen Shards that the hobgoblins describe. If we could convince each of these entities that the others were going to double cross them and already had plans in place to do so, as evidenced by, if we had some evidence to throw it out there, maybe evidence that the Queen of Frozen Shards had destroyed one of this keykeeper's precious machines. We have a piece of one of those machines that we brought back with us that may be of use to that purpose. We have the Storm Lord. We have one of his escaped changelings that we were able to rescue, Stormy, and Wendy is also out there they may be able to help us by offering additional information and cooperation with Stormy. That may give us some additional insight into that. If we can simply put the idea in the heads of the Storm Lord and this Keykeeper that the Queen of Frozen Shards ultimately plans to double cross everybody, which of course they do. They all plan to double cross everybody. That's what they do. Then maybe that can break up that alliance enough to short circuit whatever this plan they have for Chicago. Or the other option is if we could show these two other Fey entities that this Queen of Frozen Shards that's trying to seize Chicago for winter, or take control of Chicago as a winter entity, that Chicago's moving past winter, maybe pushing forward into maybe trying to speed up the seasons a little bit, push things through a little bit more towards spring, or have an unseasonably warm winter. That would require a lot of magic, and I don't know if we can muster that while we're also trying to deal with the other things.
No, but perhaps we can. It seems like your plan means we should first have this queen distracted to give opportunity to split off the other two. We can make it, perhaps fool her into believing there is summer, or maybe there's something maybe something in her plans. As she says this, we see Ashwine sort of ooze over to speak with her. Funny you should say that. And looks back towards Cog and Ditto, who are busily conversing with each other. Winter may have come up with a solution to our problems, as usual. The fruit, Embers. The fruit. She's using it. Cog and Ditto. They have come up with a brilliant idea. She intends to use the fruit to break down the barriers of the hedge. We should strengthen them. Well, someone should strengthen them. And who makes things grow, turn green and strong better than spring and summer? Peach, you're overhearing this, and I mean, it probably makes sense.
Yep, I think Pete is a little bit suspicious because he thinks Ashwine might be involved in that, in the fruit business to start with. So I think at this point, I think Pete will lean in just to throw this little bug out there. That does sound like an excellent basis for a plan. The way that we could interfere with the fruit is to find out who's behind its wide distribution and who could possibly be obtaining that much hedge fruit to make that big of a supply and trading it on the streets. Hedge fruit is not easy to obtain. It's not easy to get in that kind of number, even for hobgoblins. It would require a significant dedication of resources for that kind of volume to be brought to bear that quickly. And that sort of thing moving through and around in winter. And is there some additional information you might be able to give us regarding how that much volume could move through your season and in such a short time? Is there a special path or way to transport that kind of volume that quickly through the trials that would open up during winter?
You see Ashwine sort of in this blasé, well, I have always thought that when summer is in strength during winter, odd things happened. Perhaps it's caused a more bountiful winter in the hedge. I suppose that... Embers, have you heard of any enormous amounts of fruit entering our city? And she kind of, gets this look of, are you accusing me sort of thing? I have not. I see. Well, I hardly know, Pete. You certainly have dealt with it quite a bit, haven't you?
Yes, a lot of things have made their way into my to-do list, and the to-do list of others of my motley. Dahlia, for instance, seems to have taken a large bite out of that trade. Some of my other compatriots have encountered its distributors in various other places you would think would be unlikely, places that you would think the people wouldn't see a need for it, given their already ridiculously affluent lifestyles. Places with people who, for some reason, know the names of Fae, mention them.
Really?
Yes.
What names?
And out of character, what was the name of that upscale bar that they had been to where that guy mentioned Ashwin? I cannot remember the name of the bar.
Oh, what did I call it? It was something particularly douchey. What was it called?
Yeah, it was something you'd look at and go, ugh.
Yeah.
Really?
We'll call it Neon Dreams.
Okay. Like the kind of person that would show up at a ridiculously overpriced upscale dump like Neon Dreams.
He cocks an eyebrow at that. Really?
Yeah. Isn't that just the oddest thing to name a bar? And the kind of people that would hang out there all the time as that being their main drag. Just, ugh.
I suppose that everyone has somewhere to go.
Yes. Well, I appreciate the information you've been able to offer, Prince. And I look forward to the court's mutual cooperation in dealing with this problem. And if more information comes to my attention regarding such things as we've discussed, I'll be certain to bring that information to light as well.
He cuts his eyes over at you. Thank you, humorous Pete. Ambers, we should probably put a plan into action if you're through talking with your underlings. And Ambers is like, yes, I suppose so. Pete, if you'll excuse me a moment.
And Pete looks at her, nods, winks, and wanders off.
All right. I'll figure you'll head back to the other two as
yes.
Embers and Ashwine go to the other princess, and they begin having this discussion of kind of what's been discussed here amongst y'all. You get back over to them. What do y'all have been busily chatting away? Cobb, what plans have y'all come up with?
So broadly speaking, what we want to do is to convince the Lord of Storms that the Keykeeper is behind the Lost Whirlwinds. And the idea is that the Keykeeper has been adding them to his collection and using them to power the stocks. And the idea is that Ditto would take on the form of a kidnapped wind spirit and make its way back to the other rumor spirits and be like, oh, I barely got away. Right now, we're kind of debating whether or not we need a mechanical form for said wind spirit to inhabit, whether it's a spider or Cog pretending to be, oh, I am a shell being inhabited by Ditto. My gosh. Which, I mean, he is one of the Keykeeper's things, so that could work.
Good.
And Ditto can even impersonate other fairy seemings to other fairies, so...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's where we're at, is Ditto impersonating a wind spirit that is possessing Cog that was forced to do it by the Keykeeper.
And on the other side, we could also... This spider head you've got, we could plant that for one of the Keykeeper's other minions to find and leave it looking like it's been frozen and smashed by winter winds.
Nice.
So
I like it.
We can sow some discord in that. And by the way, how do you guys put up with fucking Ashwine? Oh my god. just like 2 minutes. I mean, that's got to be tough. Cog, you're a freaking saint, man.
He's the same as any other administrator.
Well, he's not. He talks a lot more.
Everyone talks too much.
Ditto opens his mouth to start on a rambling and fractured reply, and then closes it.
All right. So, sounds like we have a plan. I'm going to have us just kind of delineate real quick, and we're going to jump into it, kind of hard frame us towards this end. We're doing the Ditto possessing Cog coming in to give the information. Does that mean you, Pete, are going to go and try and plant the evidence to make the Keykeeper angry?
Yes, but Pete's going to need some help to set that up. He's going to need probably one of the Winter Court people to see if they can do some sort of frost or like wind burn effect on this spider head.
You do have Stormy still with you.
Yeah, so I know. Can Stormy do the winter storm, or was she just a wind elemental?
Well, if you're talking about trying to have it be the queen who did it, then you probably need someone who's cold oriented. If you're trying to imply it's the Windlord doing it, then you could have her. She's just as capable of blasting shit as his wind elementals.
Okay, well, let's. I'll go with that.
Okay.
We'll try to play the two at this stage lower tier folks in this particular conspiracy against each other.
Yeah, but they both think that they're the higher tier.
Yeah. And then the higher tier will have to come in and try to intervene, at which point we can try to throw something in there that I haven't figured out yet to make them both think that she's about to double cross them.
I may suggest, just personally, maybe for what we're doing now, we're splitting off those two from being in here, and then that leaves our last session as the actual deal with her without her allies. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're splitting the party.
What? Why did you say it like that?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're splitting the party, it seems. I absolutely love the Ditto possessing idea.
I'm pretty fond of it too.
So I'm going to start there, but we're going to do bouncing back and forth all the way through this. So, how does the beginning of Cog being possessed by Ditto look? What are we doing there?
I guess we're trying to track some of the wind scouts without being seen. Set up sort of just off stage, a little back in the forest. And I don't know, Cog, you could do something to look more like them, but I guess I'd sort of be mimicking a whirlwind spirit and riding up on his shoulders and come in like wailing and telling a story about how I just managed to escape partway through this bonding process, but now I'm stuck to this thing, blah, 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 blah.
And the idea is that the thing was wanting to absorb you for power, but instead you've gained control of it.
Yes.
And that thing being Cog. Is that what we're saying?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
I think that Cog is intentionally trying to look haywire. So it's like when people are doing the robot, but it's all jerky and off, like the more alternate, crazy hip version.
Excellent.
Whole lot of the frozen jerky things.
Nice.
So I think we're going to start off with the two of you have already gotten into the hedge and are doing your scouting to find the winds. I think we're going to go ahead and start with you having located a couple of them. But you haven't approached yet. You've reached that where you can see them.
Mm-hmm.
You say you're going to come out to, hey, I've got this one. It tried to take me. Is that the idea?
Yep.
Is there anything you would like to do ditto beforehand? Like look like a wind spirit?
Yes. I will roll up my mimic to try and.
Is a tense situation, and so you have one more now in the trust pool.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
it's worth, if you wanted to, this is also a time to maybe do a support that you can think of going in, build that trust pool up a little more.
So let me have a look at that move real quick.
Okay.
All right, so that's the comfort and support.
Correct.
All right, so I think this is how Cog is going to roll with this as they're going in. Cog says, "This is a good plan we've come up with. There's also a good chance I don't come out of it. I'm all right with that.
What? No.
Listen. We both know that you're getting out one way or the other. And if you do, when you do, watch out for the windy, will you?"
We're not going in barter, haggle, trade. We're going into reforge, reform, regroup. All of us. Not one for one.
All right. All of us.
Roll up. What are you feeling?
Geez, I half feel Patrick ought to roll that, but oh, geez. I will tell you, that is possibly the worst conversation for Cog to have had if I am making this roll, because the only emotion that makes sense in that is the one I have avoided rolling every game.
Is it sorrow?
No, fool! It's joy.
Oh, amazing!
So
it's so sweet and doomed to failure.
So Cog is not good at joy. So we'll see how that goes. All right, sweet. I got an 8.
Excellent. So on a hit, you can add one to the trust pool or clear condition.
Man, I so expected that to kill us.
So we added to the trust pool.
Yeah, it's going right in the trust pool.
Excellent. And you're going to share any consequences of the action that
that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it does. So let's see how good this disguise goes for both of us.
And so are you pulling from the trust pool, Patrick?
Yeah. Let's really not have this would be the good one to get through.
Yeah.
So you had did you just get a power about the trust pool that you had, the shattered one?
Yeah, it's when I help
when you
someone
use it
else
to help
with
someone else, right? I see it. All right.
Yeah. But don't worry, I will back you up on the next thing.
No, it's just I was gonna say that like I would be giving you the trust in this case, but one way or the other.
So
What you rolling with?
I guess anger maybe is sort of how I'm coming in on this scene.
Okay. That certainly makes sense.
Which would be a 9.
All right. That was rolling with advantage.
Yep.
What's the 9 give you?
So on a 7 to 9, your guys will not stand up to close inspection, but will pass for a time with those who know your subject slightly.
All right. So that's perfect. And so you come out to get these windy creatures to take you back. That's right. The idea is to go to the Lord of Winds, the Lord of Storms, and so you could tell your story.
Well, we've come on at least a pair of them, right?
Correct.
So ideally, what I'd like to come out of this is, coming out. Oh, help me, my brethren! I am all windy and trapped thing. I'd like at least one of them to run off and start spreading the rumor, telling the others. If I'd like to not have to deal with as many of them when they see through it, and I'd like to start this rumor going.
All right. So the first one runs off. Yeah, we will tell others of our kind. They cannot trust the Keymaster's creatures.
I'm trapped in this horrible, clanking monstrosity of a body.
That's unnecessarily unkind.
I'm sorry. I'm playing it up for the. We really have to make them feel like.
Defective installation must return. Defective installation must return. Error, 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 error. 404. File not found.
Oh, that's phenomenal. So one of them rushes off as you're telling this. The other says, oh, the master must know. Our Lord must know. And begins this sort of keening wind around it. And as it does, the storm begins moving closer, and you begin to hear the whispers in the wind.
And is that the one that went running off, or the one that's still standing in front of us?
The one that's still standing there. The one running off is telling everybody. The other one there is saying, we must tell the...
Calling Boss Daddy.
Right, it's calling, yeah. And as this whispering wind comes in, stepping out, I sort of imagine him looking like Rick from Rick and Morty. The wild hair. The, kind of crazed eyes, white hair blowing in this breeze, all pale and spindly. As Alf. Yeah, Doc Brown, definitely. Yeah, that's a good one. Stepping out. What has gone on here? As he steps out, and you are suddenly in the presence of a true Fae. And, of course, it's pretty terrifying. I'd like you both to roll an inner turmoil, but I'm going to switch over to Pete. So, Patrick, go ahead and roll yours first. Once you've rolled, then Jason, roll yours, and we'll come back to y'all in a minute to see how that goes. As Pete, seems like you and Stormy are planning to go and leave blasted things there so that the Keykeeper can get this impression, right?
Yes. First, I'm going to ask Stormy to help me by basically giving this spider head piece a look like it's been scoured by the most terrible sort of winds. So, just scoured, like sandblasted, just not smashed or destroyed, but just hold enough together so they can tell what it was.
She will do so. She begins whirling around it. You see little bits of lightning striking into it, and it's seared back, and you can see where parts of the metal has been wind sheared, and it looks pretty beat up by wind.
Perfect. And then we're going to need to go into the hedge and see if we can locate a squad of these mechanical operatives and make sure they find that thing.
Do you have a move on your beastiness that helps with finding stuff or tracking things?
I have, I have superhuman sense of smell. That's my Wild Ways move. I have the eye out for trouble, which can definitely help. Let's see. Yeah, I think the only move I have that would apply would be the sniffer move.
Okay.
Which
can do a lot of what we want. Why don't we roll that?
Okay. So I think at this point, I think Pete's trying to do this this really intricate setup of playing on this keeper. So I think he's going to have to roll this with power.
Okay.
And let's see how this goes. Whoa, 14.
All right.
Oh, wait, 13. Excuse me, 13.
13. Still phenomenal. So you get some choices, I think, don't you?
Yep, I have 3. Let's see. I think the most applicable thing for me to figure out where to find these mechanical things is whose turf is this? We're in the hedge, and we're trying to figure out which particular Fey faction is in control of this particular part of the hedge.
And I suppose, honestly, what you're trying to do is find their turf.
Yes.
Okay. I think that you could use that hold to track your way through to finding the keykeeper's mechanisms where their turf is. You smelling the smell of metal against metal, that oil smell, perhaps oil can. You work to where you're in that territory, and you can see in the distance where there are several, let's say 3, of mechanical beings that look very similar to Cog, but they're not changelings. You're pretty positive these are constructs, something he has built, that are out there, and they're patrolling.
Okay. What Pete's going to do is he is going to ask Stormy to use her wind to fling this part into the path of their patrol. Pete wants to make sure that the last scent on that thing is not his, but is actually a storm minion. Okay.
She will and flings it over there. You still got some hold.
Yeah,
Yep,
and I think what I want to do with the first question, after that, my second question actually out of the 3, will be that what happened, or excuse me, what happened here recently, as in like what this patrol route is and how it's and what's going on. And then my second question will be, what is our best way out of this situation if it goes south?
Okay. So, and your ultimate goal here is to make sure these things believe that the wind has been attacking their troops, convey that to the keykeeper, get him thinking the Stormlord is doing this, and extricating yourselves from horribleness.
Correct.
All right.
And what I'm hoping is the head itself and the damage we've done to it will do most of the conveying, because I don't have any other way to give these things information. They're not going to listen to me.
Right. So as it lands there, we see the 3 of them sort of stop. They look down, and we get like a Borg light come off of them as they scan the thing. And they stand, and you could kind of hear the and they get into unison. It's still, not exact. It's not. It's not even. But they are all in synchron. They're synchronized as this is going on. And you describe to me, Jason, what does the keykeeper look like himself?
So the keykeeper himself is kind of short and round with a big nose, and that's most of what you see. And a lot of the clothing is hard to see because he's just got piles and piles of like keys. He's got necklaces of keys. He's got those little zip it things with keys. Like he is covered with them. It's practically a suit of armor. And you can see that there's probably fine clothing underneath them, but you can only barely make out the clothing. So there's a pair of beady eyes and a huge nose and some wispy white hair that goes down his back. Some kind of short, crabby fingers. But mostly what you've got is just piles and piles of keys that are, they're wind-up keys, they're door keys.
Excellent.
Just
please tell me he has like a pair of little spectacles that like sit on the end of that nose.
Of course he does.
Okay.
He's actually got 3 pairs of spectacles on his nose. So there's like one up at the top and then 2 more in front of them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Old school trifocals.
That's right.
You see him sort of step out. It's almost like he steps out from one of these beings, one of these mechanical golems, just sort of, and you can hear, even from this distance, the keys rattling. He looks down, picks it up. Damn him. I should have never trusted him. Come, we'll see what this is about. And as he reaches over to the mechanical beings and starts to kind of just slide back into them, I smell one. Get them! And this thing just steps forward. He just folds into it as they're coming towards you. Apparently, he smelled Stormy. But you have this means out. You see this trod that's leading the opposite direction from where this patrol came. That's probably your safest way, though it is definitely heading towards the storm in the distance.
Well, away from one keeper and closer to another one. Well, we all know where this goes. So,
so you begin moving off.
Frying pan into fire. Go.
Behind you, you can hear the clank, 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 tick tock, tick, tick, tick tock, as they're following, crashing through. Meanwhile, back at Stormy Vale or Windy Vale, we have this keeper. How did you roll, Patrick?
And I remember what I rolled, but what were we rolling? What move were we rolling? Sorry.
Inner turmoil. As
that's what it is.
Right in front of you.
Okay, that's what I thought. I rolled with fear and got an 11 because, fear, keeper, that thing.
You hold it together. How did you do, Jason?
I haven't rolled yet because I had a question real quick.
Yes.
Which is, I had wanted, while we were in the mortal world, to swing by Horizon Hospice to use the glamour and recover my wounded.
You may certainly have done so.
All right. Thank you. And now I will roll, and I am going to call it for calm. And I hit submit instead of re-roll. Like, why did I roll so nice, so easily? Oh, hey, there, I got a 12.
Ooh, you guys hold it together fantastically as he steps out. And around him, the swirl. You see the one that had called him kind of come and bowing down, but he's paying it no attention as he looks over towards the two of you. What is this? What have you brought?
My lord, I was captured. I was taken by the machines, tied into this monstrosity, into its core, into its heart. I escaped. There was a crash, there was the storm, and I ran. But I am stuck. I'm trapped in this thing, in this weighty chunk of metal.
He sort of almost floats, exactly floats, his feet up off the ground, just floating closer to you. That cannot be. He would use... I know his tricks. He wishes to subsume my creatures. I should never have trusted him. He looks up at you, though, Ditto. And as he's looking, you begin to see maybe he's looking more closely.
We're in the forest right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna punch him. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think what Cog will do is go, subversion protocol activate. Key target, Lord of Storms.
Oh,
Nice.
oh,
So good.
fantastic. Let's roll a conflict. What you feeling?
Oh man. So I think we're gonna call this power. And the reason we're gonna call it that is because I'm pretty sure Lord of Storms is the one I got to deck when I was in the Keykeeper's care before.
Yep.
So there we go. We'll hope for the best with that.
I will definitely try use. We have one trust left, right?
I already rolled it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right. I got a 10, so that's the reason.
All right. So you smack him. Pick 3 from the list.
It's just a shame because I actually could have I kind of want you to spend the trust because it makes sense, but I rolled it. I'm sorry.
Narratively, what are you doing, Patrick?
I'm I'm just really laying into the story. I'm trying to keep the Stormlord's attention like directly up on me and like staring up at the top of this tall thing, so he's not watching this metal arm that just comes in from the side.
Beautiful. So what you choosing, Jason?
Well, I think one thing is I get what I want from him, and what I want from him in this case is to believe that Lord of Storms has betrayed him, or rather, Keykeeper has betrayed him. I really should try to avoid the reprimal's harm or cost here, but I'm not sure that I can justify that narratively. Well, yes, I can. I will avoid reprisals, harm, or cost, and I will inflict harm. And the reason I will do that is because one of the moves I have is that I have, see, what do they call it? Burning Bright, which means I am always capable of superhuman feats of strength. Normally, I can use this to clear someone who's got fear marked. In this case, it's just literally I'm hitting him so hard that he doesn't get to give me payback because he's just going to fly away, kind of like a cartoon.
Excellent. All right. So you hit him, and I mean, there is this sort of whomp sound as you hit him full on, and he goes flying back. Nah! And we see as he hits up against one of these trees, like there's this, like his arms and his hair kind of go wispy and a little translucent, like he's losing a bit of his form as he hits the tree before he can kind of bring himself back together. Keykeeper! He screams.
We should go now.
As at this moment, Humorous Pete and Stormy come running into the clearing. Behind them, you hear clump, clump, click, tock, tick, tock. Behind. Stormy looks across and sees the Stormlord there and goes, and adds to the confusion by screaming and attempting to run away. Pete, what are you doing?
I think Pete is going to run with her, acting as if he's acting as if he's being pulled along by her, like maybe she's captured him, and the TikTok people are after them.
Excellent.
And he's going to try and channel, if he can, like twisting so that the TikTok guys end up between them and this other Stormlord.
All right. I think that's going to be. Let's do a stay strong to try and see if you get what you want or if there's some cost to that.
Okay.
What you feeling?
Okay. Let's see. I think it's probably fear. Yeah, definitely fear. Okay. Let's see. That would be a 5 on the dice and +1 from fear. So that would be a 6. Do we have anything left in the trust pool that I could
We in fact do have stuff left in the trust pool. I was actually trying to ask you if you wanted a trust, and I had muted myself.
That would be great, actually.
How would you like to help, Cog?
So he's trying to manipulate it so that the field of vision is focused on the cogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Cog himself is fairly big, and I think the easiest thing for him to do is to stop acting jerky and just like stand up straight and turn to the other two cogs and say, "The Keykeeper's protocol has been initiated."
Excellent.
So yeah.
Okay, so do I roll with advantage now? So I roll
You
the
roll one more die and take the highest two.
Okay, that will make it an 11.
Oh, fantastic. So as you move this way, those cogs come out. There's 3 of them. And as they step out into this, and our real cog says this, intones this, and the Stormlord looks over and sees the 3 of them. But Ditto, what are you doing?
I mean, trying to get away.
Okay. So you're trying to pull out of this situation.
Yes.
Exit stage left.
I think that's an escape.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah, I think, in fact, I'm like, since I'm still up on top of Cog, I'm sort of like trying to pull him with my knees and direct. Come on, move it, buddy. Hedge gate back this way.
Now, since Humorous Pete is suddenly back in the situation, does that activate his loyalty bonus to the trust pool, or was that already figured in?
That happens whenever you enter a scene. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it basically, whenever trust pool is calculated, he adds +1. Let me double check the reading on that. Yeah, we always start any conflict with 1 extra trust.
I think we can indeed add yours in. So that takes us back up to 1.
Just in case.
All right. Roll a getaway or an escape there, Patrick. What you feeling?
Is it wrong that we should roll everything with fear right now? I feel like that's what...
I almost feel like it would be wrong if you don't, but...
Yeah, that's really where I'm sort of sitting.
It's great to be caught between 2 keepers about to have a throwdown. This is what we wanted, right?
Joy!
We built this entire structure around this one moment, and we just really want to like not be present for it at
all. That's a 6.
Oh no!
Even with the advantage?
I didn't do the advantage on that one.
Oh, I thought that was why we put the trust pool in. Are we?
Yeah. That was what I was hoping we'd have that trust pool in there for you to use for this thing.
Oh, but that'll replace the 2, so that's 1 better at a 7.
Yay!
All right, you're gonna get to choose one. What you choosing?
On a hit, you get away. On a 7 to 9, choose 1. This is really the most dramatically appropriate, I think. You leave something important behind.
All right. So, as these constructs step out, and we see the Stormlord. Yeah. We then see the Keykeeper step out of one of them. You have turned against me. You will pay for this. And Stormlord is kind of in a bad position at the moment. He's already been walloped super hard. Doesn't have his big wins around him as compared to the other cogs there. And he, stands up, but they move in to start whacking him. You guys are fleeing out, but the Keykeeper looks over in your direction and says, Cog 437B. So you've returned. Get him. And you feel that pull. Being there right beside him, it's hard to resist. We're going to come to a chance for you to break that, but I think that you stop moving away. Ditto, you sort of tumble as you stop and flop down to where you can see that there's an escape. Stormy has gone through what you've opened up. Pete, you're right there at it. As behind you, the Stormlord is just starting to be pummeled. And the Keykeeper is beginning to laugh. And we see Cog start stepping over to go and join in this beating the crap out of the Stormlord, who you've got the feeling is about to dip. I mean, he's seeing the way the wind is blowing, so to speak, and he's probably about to dip.
I think,
yeah.
I think what Pete wants to do is first he's going to kick Ditto out through the portal, and then he's going to go run and try to grab Cog.
Okay.
And I think what Pete's going to do to try and get Cog out of here is
Is that good with you? Actually,
sorry.
Agency, is that okay with you, Ditto? Are you going to try and struggle against that?
No, I think that's okay.
All right. Okay. So, Pete, you've rushed over to try and grab Cog?
Yes, and I think Pete's going to try and invoke a contract to sort of get us out of here quick.
All right.
And I think there's just one way to make the perfect getaway from this situation. And I think we all know what it is.
Is it in a van?
It is a van.
All right.
It is
You're
the
trying
greatest van.
to take hold of something vulnerable or exposed. Sounds like what you're invoking to do. You're calling upon the greater power of awesome 70s vans. You will mark clarity and roll. What you feeling?
Let's see. I think at this point, seeing what was about to happen to his friend, I think for the first time this session, Pete feels like he can probably roll with something other than fear. So he is pissed.
All right.
This is going to be an anger roll.
All right. We are out of trust pool.
Yep. It is a 5 on the dice plus 2 from anger for a 7.
7.
Nice.
All right. Roar, we hear coming through the hedge the sound of the van as it arrives, blasting through. Keykeeper has looked, over to see you having grabbed Cog, and he looks furious and is moving to intercept you, to try and get over there to you. Over here where the walloping on Stormlord is gone, there is this sort of sucking wind noise. I'll get you, you bastard! As Stormlord and heads out. Keykeeper is come up, rushing towards you, Cog, as you're being pulled away. The van pulls up behind you as you're being pulled. I'm going to give you the opportunity here, if you wish to try and break this influence. I think this is a stay strong, and you can describe to me, what would you like to do?
So I think that what Cog does is that he's there for a moment, and what he actually does is reach up and he pulls off the metal head, exposing the actual human head that's still underneath, and just goes, "I am not your Cog."
Oh, roll me a stay strong. And what are you feeling?
That's a good question. So many complex feels for Cog. Well, it's not anger. It's not sorrow.
I think it's power.
It's not fear or joy. I
Or calm? Are you feeling your humanity?
think that's my humanity. I think that's pretty clearly some humanity there. So let's go with that. So that will make it a 10.
Oh, I could not go better. As you take this off, and he sort of stops. No. The van behind you as Pete pulls you in. He's even turned my most loyal cogs. Damn you! He shakes his fist at the retreating wind as the tires and go flinging back through the hedge, following after Ditto as he screams his anger. And we see come out of the sky as you look back an enormous clockwork pterodactyl. I will get you! He points towards the wind as it picks him up in its claws, and he sort of up into it, and he flies off after the Lord of Storms. And as you pass through the hedge, on the 8-track player in the van begins playing Midnight Special. And the catch that you have, band only wants 70s music and always wants 70s music while you're driving.
I will formulate a playlist.
And out of the hedge you go. Ditto, as you Stormy's kind of huddle there, as you're there at the edge of the street. We're going to say that you're up around Navy Pier. You're close to home from your escape. As you kind of look back a little worried, you hear, let the midnight special shine a light on me. And the headlights bust through the seeming nothingness of an alley and skid around the corner to stop in front of you. The tailpipes roaring out smoke and a bit of sparks as it skids to a break. And I think that's where we're going to stop.
Yay! Man, I super thought I wasn't going to get out of that. Well done, you, Pete.
I did too.
Well, that 10 you rolled on the Stay Strong kind of made that work. that would have been a whole lot of nothing if that 10 wouldn't have come in.
That was fantastic. Let's do just real quick, because I know I've got a couple of folks here next time, and Jason, you can keep up it as well. Do we feel like anybody had an entanglement come in? Patrick, any entanglements you played with this time? Had Ashwine.
As if Ashwine, yeah, but he wasn't really pushing on anything.
No, other than go solve this problem for me.
We brought the problem to him.
That's true. So no, you don't think so?
No.
Okay. Jason, feel like any entanglements were hit this time?
Well, see, Ashwine came up but didn't really hit on it. However, the other half of that being the Windy actually came up in the conversation with Ditto.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I think we can count that one.
Excellent. Pete, any entanglements?
I don't think any of mine came in. I think Pete T's doing something with them soon, like his little thing that he wants to, tar and feather Abyssinian Max next time.
Yeah, Abyssinian and Ashwine in that last one coming up. All right. Oops, where's my sheet? Did you express your seeming or kith, Patrick? I feel like it.
Yeah. did all sorts of mimicky stuff.
I've got to say, Jason, I feel like you did as well, all over the place.
Hooray.
And I think you did as well, Pete.
Yeah,
there was a lot of the beast going on
Yeah,
there.
Pete does not leave a pack member behind.
All right. Expressing your season, Patrick Winter.
We did have that whole interaction with Ashwine in the Winter Court.
That's true.
I don't know if I really got around to Sorrow otherwise.
Well, isn't Winter Court also associated with sort of like with scheming and preparation? Or is that Autumn?
No, it is. It is. I mean, the way that Winter Court's first prince became the prince was by hiding from actual winter for 2 years. So
that seems excellent then. So sounds like you hit it, and would mean also that you hit it, Jason, since you were in that same planning, scheming, getting all that together. Do you think, Pete, that you hit your summer?
He did a lot of court interactions, and but he didn't really get into a pitched battle so much as he got into a tactical engagement. So
okay, so maybe not this time.
Yeah, probably not this time.
Okay, express your humanity, ditto.
This was all real weird and hedgy. Well, no, I think the scene actually with Cog, the like worst comfort ever that I turn around and help him out with.
I think that's true. I like that. Cog, feel like you hit your humanity.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to push on this game.
I definitely saw that. Yes. And Pete, how about you?
I'm not sure Pete really did a whole lot humanity-wise this time. He was doing a lot more court stuff and a lot more, tricky tactical stuff. He didn't do a whole lot of humanizing things this time.
Okay. Conceding a conflict. Pete, I'll tell you, I think you earned that one this time.
Yeah, I think we ran from several things rather than engage. So
yeah, y'all came back on it that way. Jason, do you feel like you conceded a conflict?
Not at the end. There was the part earlier where I threw the wood at the wind spirit, and then we ran like the dickens from them.
That's okay.
Which, I think that's the one that I conceded. For the most part, he didn't. I'll tell you what. I feel like I stood strong on so many conflicts that I'm not real comfortable taking that one because it's kind of weak by comparison.
I can see that. I agree with you. How about you, Ditto? Feel like you conceded a conflict? No? Okay. All right, then. So we got our XP. It is 11:03. Do we think we have a moment for our wishes and stars?
I've got some time.
If folks have 10 minutes, if not, I completely understand.
Yeah, I can do it.
Cool. I wouldn't mind hearing, especially from the two that are coming in next week, maybe something you'd like to see for sure. But wishes will be something in the future, something that you wish would have been a little different in how things got played, or maybe something a little different about the system. And I'll start with you, Chris. I always want to say Pete at this point. Chris, wishes from you.
For next time, Pete wants to be able to basically do that little intrigue bit he's been planting the seeds for with Max and Ashwine.
Okay.
So that's it. That's his big thing, and of course, wrap up this whole keeper business.
Gotcha. Jason, any wishes from what you played?
Well, I mean, fairly obviously, I wish I could be there, but failing that, so the courts are doing a lot of things off screen. I think it would be great to see like the whole of the Changeling Society, whether it's through trickery or whatever, like actively working, some scenes of them actively working to thwart the Queen. So like obviously the spotlight goes to the players, but I would like to have the vignettes of the others as well.
I like that idea. And it's something I kind of have playing in my mind as well. I have a musical cue for the final one that kind of plays with. So thank you. I hear you, and I really like that wish. Patrick, any wishes?
I think it would be neat to dip back into the dream world one more time as we're coming up on a close. That's where we sort of started things, and it might be interesting to have some callback to that at the end.
I think that's neat too, and there's some dangerous people to go playing in their dreams with, so I can see something for that. Let's think and try and push that next time.
Yeah, Zetcher is like crashing at the den.
Mm-hmm. There's also the Queen of Frozen Shards. You could go see if you could play in her dreams.
Maybe Zetcher.
Or Max or Ashwhite. But we'll try and push that. I hear you. I love it. I think that's an excellent idea. Wishes for me. There's not a lot I could say other than I wish you were here with us again next time, Jason. But my primary wish is that you have a wonderful and successful birth and a lovely, beautiful child.
Thank you.
And is this your first?
It is. We're really excited. We've been married a while, so it's very exciting and nerve-wracking, but we're as ready as we're ever going to be.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. Now let's do a couple of stars here. Chris, any stars you'd like to hand out?
Oh, all the stars. Jason, just he's bringing it as Cog. It was awesome. So many of the Cog rolling joy for the first time was just a perfect send off for this session. I thought that was great. And of course, Patrick Ditto was just always so much fun. Just all of the stuff that goes into it, and all of the performance that goes into just having Ditto even have a short conversation is just great.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Jason, any stars to hand out?
Yeah, it's easy to get bogged down in things like, first of all, in searching for information, but especially when characters are making a plan for how to deal with a really large foe. And it can get convoluted, and there is a lot of moving pieces there, including me and Patrick talking in chat while a different conversation was going on. But I think that actually all went really pretty smoothly, surprisingly smoothly. I would go so far as to say, and I think that's a group effort. Both for your articulation, for Patrick for coming up with crazy freaking ideas that I was excited to be a part of, and then Chris was able to join in and roll with it and then make it even more dramatic with the spider head. And so there's a lot to be said for that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Patrick, stars?
I agree. I like our crazy plan of turning the keepers against each other and how that whole thing worked out. Jason, I really loved the scene of talking about whether or not Cog would be coming back and how he definitely would be coming back and all that. That was very touching and sweet. And yeah, I love Pete, and I love that stupid band. I love every unnecessarily detailed description of it. I especially love that now it's starting to want things.
It's really a Motley member now.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I agree. And my stars, first off, I want to thank you all for, as we got towards the end, I sped up pace. Y'all leaning right into it. It still felt like we got emotion and everybody was doing things. And that is just a testament to what wonderful role players y'all are. So huge stars for all of you. I want a star that I liked that we ended up with a plan that definitively weakened the enemy. And it just seemed to play well and make sense. And it ended up being a really fulfilling, I felt like, set of scenes. I thought that whole thing was a lot of fun. So stars, kudos all over the place to y'all. Y'all are amazing players, and it makes me so happy to play with you. Well, I think that's going to be our wrap. This is the end of the third. We have one more finale one. It will, well, it will be dangerous. And so for folks out there, if you've enjoyed these, well, watch more.